Alright guys, so today we're doing day 7 of our notes, second to last day, so that's pretty exciting. Today we're going to be solving rational equations. Okay, so to start we're going to be reviewing how to add and subtract fractions, because that's a big part on how we do solve rational equations. So we'll do number 1 and 2 together for this one, okay? And we're going to focus on letter B. So we have 2/7 minus 1/6. So whenever we are working with fractions and we're adding and subtracting, our first step is always to find a common denominator. Common, and I'm going to abbreviate here denom. Just know that means denominator. So to find the common denominator in this case, the easiest thing to do is we're going to multiply 2/7 by 6/6 and 1/6 by 7/7, because we'll get the bottom to be 6 times 7 for both of them, which we know is 42. So put the 2 spaces there. Then we have 2 times 6 for the first one, so we get 12. And then we have 7 times 1, which stays 7. Okay? So then our second step is to add or subtract the top only. Let's make that no. Add or subtract top only. We leave the bottom alone. So in this case, we have 12 minus 7. So let's make that a better 5. But your answer is going to be 5 over 42. We carry over the denominator, and there's our answer. Okay? So we can use what we did here in these steps to help us with simplifying these guys. Let's go down to C, and we're going to work with that because A and B are pretty easy. We already have common denominators. And for C, we need to get that. So we have a y in one denominator and a 3 in another, just like or similar to B. The easiest thing to do is to multiply 5 over y by 3 and 2 over 3 by y over y. Okay? So what we get then is we get 15 over 3y here minus 2y over 3y, right? So now we have common denominators. We leave that alone. So we can just go ahead and write that over here. And now we have 15 and 2y. 15 and 2y are not like terms, so we can't really do anything with that. So we can just rewrite those together over just 1, 3y. And that is going to be our answer for this one. Okay? So I'm going to have you do D, kind of a similar situation. Go ahead and pause the video and work on that by yourself, all right? Here we go. So we know we have 4 over x minus 3, sorry. So the easiest thing is just multiply 5 over x minus 3, or 5 times x minus 3 over x minus 3. So I distributed already and got the 5x minus 15 over x minus 3. And like we did before, do nothing to the bottom, just move it over. And now we do have like terms. We have 4 and 15. Can't do anything with the 4 and 5x. So just add 4 to negative 15. So we get 5x minus 11. Okay? Pretty simple. I don't think there's anything too crazy about this right now. So what we are going to do now is we're going to look at actual rational equations and seeing what they did here, how they went from this line to that line. So first step, look for the common denominator. We have an x, a 2x, and a 2. So pretty easy, common denominator to find? 2x. We already got one term that has it, so they didn't do anything there. Now to get from 3 over x to 6 over 2x, we notice that there's a 2 now in the denominator, so it had to be multiplied by 2, and 6 is 2 times 3. So one of the steps they took was multiply 3x by 2 over 2, which got you 6 over 2x, right? Now we look at 1/2 over on the right side here. We added an x on the bottom, so we had to multiply this one by x over x. So just a side note, the reason why we can multiply these by like 2 over 2 or x over x is because those equal 1. So we're not necessarily changing the prop at all. So when we do this, we can get x over 2x. So those are the two steps that Ms. Weber performed. So now we can use that, and we'll take this bottom line, and we'll solve the equation. Okay, so if we look ahead, we can see that here in step 2 that we can drop the denominators and solve the equation that way. So we can go ahead, drop the denominators, so we get 6 plus 5 equals x, so we get 11 equals x. All right, so what techniques do we use to solve? We drop the denominators and solve the numerators. So the one thing we need to keep in mind now is we have a variable. Variables can be different numbers, and the one number at the bottom cannot be at all is 0. So in this case, we have to look at the original. To have an x equals 0 anywhere here, or the bottom equals 0 anywhere here, x has to equal 0. So for 6, the value you can't divide by is 0. So why don't you take time to pause and go through A, B, and C and figure out what x has to be to get the bottom equal to 0, which makes the fractions false. Notice that there's 2 x's in C, so you should get 2 different answers there, okay? So go ahead and pause and work on those. Okay, so hopefully this was fairly easy for you guys. You should have gotten x equals 0, x equals 5, and then x equals 0 and 3 for C. As you can see, you have an x here. So just like when you factor, you set it equal to 0. So this one would have to be 0. This one would have to be 3. Okay? So moving on to this part, we're actually at the rational equations. Now we have to worry about our extraneous solutions or false solutions, just like for the radical inequalities or inequalities in general. But your steps are very similar to solving fractions. So we get our common denominator. Then we drop our denominators, only focus on the numerator, and then we have to check our denominators to make sure that our solution doesn't make it equal to 0. Okay? So for this first one, for 8, we'll do it together. We have a over a plus 1 plus 3a plus 4 over a plus 1 equals 3. So we have the common denominator here, and we just have a whole number, which makes it really easy to find our common denominator. Okay, so step 1, common denominator. So in this case, we have a, and I'm going to just combine this left side already. So a plus 3a plus 4, and that will equal 3a plus 3 all over a plus 1 on the right side, okay? Because we multiply a plus 1 over a plus 1, and then we solve for a. We can ignore our denominators now. So it's just 4a plus 4 equals 3a plus 3. And we do our math thing, and we get a equals -1. All right. Sorry, there should be a 4 in there. So quickly, minus 3a, we get just a over here, minus 4, we get -1. So a equals -1. And now we have to remember our third step and check the denominator. So we have a plus 1 at a equals -1. -1 plus 1 is going to equal 0. So a plus 1 actually does not work. So in this case, we have no solution. And that's a perfect example of why we need to check our solutions, okay? So, and we'll go back. Okay. So let's move down to move to the next page. Go to A. And I'm going to have you try this on your own. So pause the video, try it out, and I'll have the solution for you with each step, okay? All right, here we go. All right, so for this one, our common denominator should have been 3y. So we multiply 4 over y by 3 over 3, and we get 12 over 3y. And then for 1/3, we have to multiply y over y to get the bottom to be 3y. So we have now 2 over 3y plus 12 over 3y equals y over 3y. We ignore the denominator now, so we just have 2 plus 12 equals y, so that's 14 equals y. Actually ends up working out pretty well. So now we have to double check our denominators with that our solution to make sure that it doesn't equal to 0. And just if you take 3y and solve it for 0, y would have to be 0 to make it equal to 0, which obviously 14 does not equal 0. So y equals 14 is a solution in this case. All right, I'm going to hold off on the rest of the problems. They're yours to do on your own if you would like, and I would definitely recommend it. Look for one of the problems we've done in the video to be your warm-up. So just making sure that you guys are watching the video. If you have it written down, we know you've watched it, right? So yeah, we're done with our second to last video. One more to do, and then review and test. Remember, if you are not understanding anything, if you have questions, make sure to come see Mr. Oakes or myself. We will help you. Come during Ready Block, a study hall, after school. We will be there to help you, okay? If you have any other questions, I'll give some time at the beginning of class to go over them, but otherwise, just come find me, okay? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in class. Bye.